go the day, feel it melt away, where time cannot find me at all. Just a breath away, nothing here but heaven, nowhere but love to fall. As I go within, quiet peace, offer something sacred. There's a sweetness that waits, holiest embrace that reminds me I'm always home. And as I go within, quiet peace, offer something sacred. There's a sweetness that waits, holiest embrace that reminds me I'm always home. It's here that I am always home.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Welcome. It's good to have you this evening. I'm Reverend Debbie McDonnell. I'm so grateful that you're here. If you notice, Aria is not here. Our beautiful Aria is a little under the weather tonight, so we'll just hold her in prayer and know that she heals perfectly. So we have Jim. Thank you so much for being here, Jim, and stepping in. Welcome to our Wednesday night Going Within service. Our Wednesday evening service is just a time for you to pause midweek and unplug, a time to just reconnect with Source, to let go of the week and anything that's happened so far, and just allow yourself to be fully present in this moment, to renew, connect, refuel, recharge, spend a little time with the divine. So we're very grateful that you're here tonight. And to kick us off this evening, we have practitioner Jan Hartman.
So let's take that wonderful music and word, and let's bring ourselves to that place that is ours and only ours. You each have your own. Find that for yourself and know that God is the power and the presence of all life. Know that there is only one life because there is only God. And as we move into the joy of that, as we move into the liveliness of that, as we replenish ourselves, as we refresh ourselves, it is so powerful to know that God is the essence forever and ever. And so this service is here for you and for me and for all. This time together is a communion for all. It is a place where love and light and the energy of all that is sacred moves in as and through each thing, each one, each place, and each time. And so as we take that in and we breathe that in, we know that we are absolutely okay, that all is well, life is good, wholeness and health are here, and the abundance of God is fresh in this place. And so it is. And I'd like to invite you, if you haven't already come up to light a candle, to please do so. And then we'll walk into some heart meditation for a few minutes, and Jim will lead us in, and then the music will lead us back out.
There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one. We are one. We are one. We are one in the divine. There is only one. Only one of us. There is only one. There is only one. make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it's in giving that we receive, and it's in pardon that we are pardoned, and it's in dying that we are born to eternal life. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it's in giving that we receive, and it's in pardon that we are pardoned, and it's in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
I'm Jan, and I'm a practitioner here at Seaside, and I wanted to remind each of you that Denise is holding light in the back, which is how we keep track of the beautiful vibrational energy of God during the service, and hold it up. And we love to pray. So if you have anything that you would like prayer for after the service, both of us are available, and doesn't necessarily need to be anything heavy on your heart. It can be absolutely something to celebrate. So bring that forward in any way that you desire. That's why we're here. In listening and thinking in my own head about Reverend Debbie's talk tonight about a personal experience of God, I realized I know what she means, but I don't really know a whole lot about the clarity for how to express that so somebody else would understand what my personal experience of God is, probably because it's personal. But I did find a reading that I would like to share with you that it really speaks a lot to how I feel about the personal aspect of my relationship with God. And it's from Araya Mountain Dreamer, from her book called The Invitation. I want to live with deep intimacy every day of my life. I am not interested in a spirituality that cannot encompass my humanness, my personal freedom, a deep commitment to others, the ability to simply be with the world, and the need to change what we know is not right about how we are living. I am guided, sometimes driven, by an ache to take the necessary risks that will let me live close to what is within and around me. And I am sometimes afraid that it will be too much, that I will not have or be connected to whatever it takes to be with it all, to bear the exquisite beauty and bone-wrenching sorrow of being fully alive. I want it all. Sometimes during my early morning meditation, a place within me opens and parts of myself let go that I did not even know were holding on. In these moments, I feel all the hard places in my heart and body yield to a great softness carried on my breath. I am filled with compassion for the part of me that is always trying, always organizing, always problem solving, anticipating, and my mind stops and simply follows my breath. A great faith washes through me, a knowing that everything that needs to get done will get done. My shoulders drop an inch. The small but familiar ache in my chest eases, and the moment stretches. There is enough time, enough energy, enough of all that is needed. A great tenderness for myself and the world opens inside me, and I know I belong to this time, to these people, to this earth, and to something that is both within and larger than all of it, something that sustains and holds us all. I do not want to be anywhere else. I am filled with the commitment to and compassion for myself and the world.
Thank you. It's beautiful, Jan. Thank you. Yes, it is hard to put into words sometimes what that feels like, that connection with the divine. Welcome again. So glad that you're here. Last week, all the ministers were at the convention. We were in Salt Lake City at the Science of Mind annual gathering convention with all of the ministers and practitioners and laity from all around. And it was a wonderful experience. It was a great week. We have keynote speakers and workshops, and we get to do all kinds of fun things. Our voting takes place then if we have any changes to our bylaws or our directives. Those are all changed and voted on then. And so this big change was our spiritual leader was up for re-election, and Dr. Ken Gordon has been re-elected for another 4 years as our spiritual leader, so we're really excited about that. He's able to continue on with the vision of a world that works for everyone. And he did do the March video that I've been putting on the Facebook page. So if you want to go to the Reverend Debbie Facebook page, I've loaded March up there for you to look at, so you can take a look and see Dr. Ken. So we are in the month of March. We have a new theme for this month, which is realizing the power of mind. So this month we move away from our February theme and move into this March theme. And too fast, back it up. There we go. So remember that we're looking at a compilation of what we believe in the global vision, and it's been put together in this entire year-long program. So for March, we're focusing on these topics. We believe that God is personal to all who feel the indwelling presence. We see a world in which humanity rediscovers the creative power of thought. And we see a world in which individuals rediscover their personal power to create an individual life that works within a life that works for everyone. So those are the themes that we'll be looking at in March. And tonight, we're talking, Ed taught me how to do that, and I don't think I did it right, but there you go, it worked. Tonight, we're talking about we believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. And this is something that's really exciting to me. Because for me, it's the whole purpose and reason for having this whole spiritual life is so we can have this connection with the divine. It's what excites me. It's what I think is really the crux of this whole life that we have here on this planet. And Science of Mind teaches both the love and the law. And when I first came into religious science, there wasn't as much conversation about love as there is now. The focus seemed to be very much on the law. And I had a little bit of a challenge with that because the law to me just seems so impersonal, and it is. It seemed very cold to me. And I was missing that feeling of that warm, fuzzy feeling that you have when you're connected with God, when you're connected with Source, when you're connected with love. And so I came into New Thought through Unity, and that was just a little gentler way for me because Unity, unlike us, even though they are a New Thought church like we are, they have more emphasis on the Bible. And I grew up in a Christian tradition, so the Bible was familiar to me and Jesus was familiar to me. And so that was a little bit comforting as I moved into this New Thought world, that they still had the Bible quotes that I knew, and they talked about Jesus' love, and that I resonated with, And so it took me a while. It took me a while to really understand the whole concept of love and the law. And today when I read the daily guides, our daily guides, and I'll read the daily words still from Unity, I don't have that feeling that I used to have. Things have changed, and I understand it more in a new and a different way. I understand that love and the law are just the opposite sides of the same coin. Love is that personal part of our connection with the divine, and the law is the impersonal part. It's just two different aspects of God, two different sides of the very same coin. So I don't have that same resistance, I guess would be the word, but I still have that same craving. I crave to have that personal relationship with the divine. That is what I seek. And that is what I think I've always sought. I want to feel God. I want to have that experience. Throughout my childhood, throughout my life growing up, I wouldn't have named that as what was missing for me, but now I know what it was. I tried to find that good feeling in a lot of other ways. I tried to find it in all the ways you can imagine until I realized that hole in my gut, that feeling that I was feeling was that I was not having that connection with Source. I was craving to return to my father's home, if you will, to my mother's home. I was craving to return to Source, to be one with. And I wish I could say that I get there and I'm there all the time, but that is not so. We know that it's not so. I had many spiritual experiences. I've had several spiritual experiences in my life that were quite profound. Yet I still can have the tendency to say, well, maybe that wasn't really God. Maybe that was just a coincidence, like things that are just miracles, miraculous, profound things that happen. And I still, once they happen, I go, was that really it? Am I fooling myself? There's a story in the foreword of the book, Can We Talk to God? And I love the book, Can We Talk to God? Because I want to know how to talk to God, And there's some directions in there about how we can do that. But the foreword to the book was written by Dr. Roger Till, who's the minister of Mile High, our biggest church in Denver, Colorado. And he tells the story of an elderly gentleman who had not a lot of money, but a lot of faith. And this elderly gentleman, the sidewalk in front of his home was cracked and crumbled and quite hazardous. And he was fed up with it, so he decided to have a talk with God. Okay, God, we need to do something about this sidewalk. I don't know what you can do, but it's time that something be done. So he had his grandchildren go out and dig up the concrete, dig up the cement, and haul it away. He had the boards put in to build the frame for the new sidewalk. And then he said, okay, God, I've done what I can. It's yours. And 10 days later, and this was an article in the local newspaper, 10 days later, a cement truck was driving down his street a little too fast. And as it made the corner, it flipped. The cement man had to unload the cement very quickly from the truck before it hardened. So the elderly gentleman just stepped out on his porch and said, come on over here, gentlemen. You can put the cement right here. Thank you, God. And you hear that story, and we think, wow, that's amazing, right? Or do you think, could have been God, maybe not. Maybe it was just a coincidence that truck was going around the corner, happened to be there, happened to do it. What is our reaction? What is our thought to that? There's all sorts of wonderful things that happen in the world, and we can see God in it, or not. It's our choice. We believe that God is personal to all who feel this indwelling presence. That line is from What We Believe. And I would read that when I first came to religious science, because I would read the statements of truth of what we believed here. Did I believe it? Was this the place I wanted to be? Did you all believe what I believed? Was it going to work? Was this a good match? And that was the one line that I could find. And I've searched and I found more later on, but it was that one line that I could find about this personal relationship with God. When Ernest talks about the importance of having that warmth, having that energy, having that loving presence, that is just as important as the law. And so that was sort of my hook. That was my hold on how can I find this relationship with the divine? How do I build a relationship with Source? When we build a relationship with Source, just the same way we would build a relationship with anybody. If you have somebody that you want to get to know better, what do? You have conversations with them. You might call them up. You spend time with them. You get to know them. You share stories with them. You share conversations with them. You might reveal a little bit more of yourself to them, be a little bit more vulnerable, and they will reveal a little bit more of themselves to you. And by this way, you start to build a relationship with someone. Well, it's the very same with Source. We build a relationship with Source by having a relationship with Source. By spending the time to communion with the divine, to have conversations, to sit in the quiet, to turn off all the technology, turn off the phone and the TV and the computer, and just sit and be. Just be in the presence. It's in that silence that we hear that still small voice within. And that is where Source lives, within us. People find that connection by walking on the beach, by being in nature, by looking in the face of your loved one, by looking in the face of your children. Where do you see God show up? Where do you see Source show up? How do you continue to have that relationship? Perhaps you have old ideas still about God. I know I did. I had old ideas for quite some time that I had to uncover, discover, and discard. And that's what I like to do with all my belief systems. Uncover, discover, and discard any belief that I have. I like to hold it up to the light. Does it serve me still today? Is it in the way? Is it creating a separation between me and the divine? Do you see the Harry Potter movies where Dumbledore takes his wand and pulls the little thread out of his thought and puts it in the big bowl, and I forget what the bowl's called, I should know. And he's able to see his thoughts. He's able to see what's in his mind, from a distance, separated from, unattached, as an observer. I like to do that with my beliefs. I like to take a look at them. So I'm going to ask you to do an exercise with me if you're up for it. It's just to be a few minutes. If you feel comfortable, you can just close your eyes, and I would like you to just go within. To just go within and imagine, bring to mind your concept of God. What is that to you? What do you see? Is it energy? Is it love? Is it a person? Is it an old man with a beard? A goddess? What is it? Just allow that to come up for you. Whatever it is, just allow it to be there. Now I want you to sense how you feel about this divine essence. Do you want to approach it? Do you want to hide? Do you hope it doesn't see you? Do you feel safe? Do you feel loved? Do you feel bliss? Whatever it is, just notice. Just notice what you feel standing in front of and with this energy of Source. I invite you to bring your energy back to here and now. Open your eyes. Did you discover anything new? Did you have a little aha? See any place where you might be holding on to a belief that's not serving you? Do you have any old ideas of perhaps a childhood God or a God that's less than loving, less than welcoming? By the time I arrived at New Thought, I had a loving God. By the time I arrived here, I had done some work. But prior to that, the work that I needed to do was I really needed to uproot the beliefs. I was terrified of God. I was terrified of a personal relationship with God. I was sure I was a sinner. I was sure I was not going to heaven. So I was really afraid to develop this relationship with God until I came to know that God was love and only love, until I came to believe that with my whole heart and soul, that there was no judgment. God didn't need me to do anything or behave a particular way to be in favor of the divine, that my very birthright was an expression of God, that that's who each of us are. That I didn't need to run, I didn't need to hide, I didn't need to hope that God did not see me, So I encourage you to do whatever it is to remove any barrier, any blocks that might be keeping you from having the most intimate of relationships like Jan was talking about. That intimate personal relationship with your God, with your source, whatever that is, creative mind, the universe, whatever you want to call that for yourself. Find what works. And again, if there's beliefs that are getting in the way, that is what religious science practitioners are trained to do, to help you uncover, to help you discover and discard that which no longer serves you. We have almost 50 of them here at Seaside that are ready, willing, and able to work with you. So don't be afraid to use our practitioners. Truly, I believe that with God, all things are possible. I believe that the single most important act we can perform in our lifetime is to know God. And I truly believe that. If we don't do anything else. I've had more than one person tell me that they stopped coming to a New Thought church because they felt like they had to give up their God. And I want to tell you, that is so not true. Ernest says it very clearly in his writings, that we are to meet people where they are. He says any relationship with any God is surely better than none at all. We don't have the only way or the right way. We just have one way. One way to have that relationship with Source. Ernest, this is directly from Ernest. The indwelling God is the greatest single factor in our whole lives. It means that there is nothing between us and God. There is no intermediary. I love that about religious science. I don't have to go to somebody else to connect to God. I can do it all by myself. There is no place to go to find God. God already exists in the midst of us, and if we would try to seek him elsewhere, it would be like God trying to hunt for himself. God is not lost, and neither are we lost or separated from God. The more completely we're able to see God in everything, the more completely will the one God in all things respond to us. This is the key for you to show up and align yourself with it. To align yourself with that which is already there. We have another slide here. Also, the first glimpse of God has to be in the innermost shrine of your heart. If you have not seen him there, you can go on talking about him, but you will not be able to see him anywhere. He, she, it. Osho is an Indian mystic, died in the early 90s. Each week I've told you through this year journey, another one of our religious science ministers has done an outline for a talk. And This week was Dr. Joe Hooper from the Palm Desert Church. And Dr. Joe says this, and this is the little part that I wanted to read you that Dr. Joe said. He says, the very essence of who we are in the physical and mental body rests in an idea that was established for us by the infinite. We could no more pump our heart or fill our lungs without something greater than us doing that. Why then do we at times insist on going at this life alone? Why do we ignore the very thing that is breathing us? Now, I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of forgetting. You know, I'm out there doing, and it's all me, and I'm doing, and I'm going. And I go, oh, yeah. My practitioner is great for that. My practitioner, this is a line she says to me often. And where's God in that? I go, oh, yeah, that thing, God, that we talk about. You know, to pause, to remember that you're not alone. You're doing this whole life thing with Spirit expressing as you, closer than your hands and feet, closer than your breath. There's a story, you may have heard this one, of a kindergarten teacher who was having art class. And she was going around looking at what the students were drawing, you know, as teachers do, walk up and down the aisles. And she asked one little girl, she saw what she was drawing, and she said, what is that? What are you drawing? And the little girl says, well, I'm drawing God. And the teacher says, well, nobody really knows what God looks like. And the little girl says, well, they will in a minute. You know, can we have that childlike faith? Can we have that belief that God is absolutely? You know, can we have that innocence of the child? In the Science of Mind textbook, chapter 20 is titled, What the Mystics Have Taught. And you know, it's not a chapter that I read often. I'm much more interested in it now. In the beginning, I didn't really pay attention to that chapter, What the Mystics Have Taught. And Ernest Holmes was great on mysticism. Dr. Christian has written a new book, if you don't know, Living from the Mountaintop. He'll be teaching a class, and it's a class on mysticism. He'll be teaching the class based on his book in April. First time ever, everybody that signs up to be part of that class will receive a copy of his book, which has not yet been published, for sale. So it's only available through that class. But Dr. Christian also is big on mysticism, as Ernest was. And he says in the textbook, the teaching of the mystics has been that there should be a conscious courting of the divine principle. I love that. What Ernest talks about in that chapter is those threads, those common threads of all mystics. A courting of the divine. I love that. Do you court the divine? Are you courting God? Are you courting Source? Are you courting Spirit? Spending time getting to have that relationship, spending time getting to know God. However that looks for you. There's no right way. What we directly experience ourselves and what we believe others have experienced is all that we can know about God. Again, that's from this same chapter. They have told us of the marvelous relationship which exists between God and man, of a close union that cannot be broken. The greatest of the mystics have consciously walked with God and talked with him, just as we talk with each other. It is difficult to realize how this can be. It is hard to understand how a being so universal as God must be can talk with man. Here alone, the mystic sense reveals the greatest truth and knows that, infinite as is the divine being, it is still personal to all who believe in its presence. Those are one of those lines that Ernest has in all capitals. It is still personal to all who believe in its presence. It is entirely possible for a man to talk with the Spirit, for the Spirit is within him, and he who made the ears can hear. So I encourage you this week to walk with Spirit. Talk with Spirit. Spend time getting to know the source of all life, that is you, that exists as you. Spend these next 2 weeks until I see you again, developing the relationship, the most intimate relationship with the divine. God bless you. Thank you. Before we have Jim do our solo number, we're going to do our affirmation. Join me. The indwelling presence is alive, alert, awake, and enthusiastic within me now. One more time. The indwelling presence is alive, alert, awake, and enthusiastic within me now.
A beautiful Ricky Byers song. There's a power, a presence, one life of God, and no other power can exist outside of the infinite. One love that can only be God's love. Oh, yes, I know that I walk. Oh, yes, I walk in the love of God. There's a wisdom, a knowing, a loving, a truth. Wherever you need to know, will come in God's way for you. Just say, until it shows, I'll pray. I won't move until I know, oh, that I walk in the love of God. For the power and the glory and the love of God is everywhere. I can see it, it's everywhere. I can feel it, it's everywhere. And I know in my heart that the power and the glory and the love of God is everywhere, everywhere. Yes, I walk in the love of God. There's a power, a presence, one life of God, and no other power can exist outside of the infinite. One love that can only be God's love. Oh, yes, I know that I walk. Whoa, yes, I walk in the love of God. I walk in the love of God. Yes, I walk in the love of God.
Yay! Thank you, Jim. Thank you for stepping in so beautifully.
Sure. My pleasure.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, it's a time of our service where we have our offering. We have the ushers come forward. We have a Jenny and Karen tonight. Dennis is at his grandchildren's basketball tournament, so we know that they're playing well, doing well. It's the time that we're able to give. It's the time that we're able to practice that law of reciprocity, knowing that as we give, we receive. And that's certainly not the reason that we give, but it certainly does activate the law, that's for sure. So know that everything that you give goes to support Seaside Center for Spiritual Living and all of the works that we do here. It goes to support our Wednesday night service and keep the doors open. So we're very grateful. We're grateful, and we are a tithing community. We tithe out into the world. We were over $1 million last year that we've tithed back, so your money does go out and touch lots and lots of people. So let's say our prosperity prayer. As I give thanks for the good now flowing into my life, I gladly share that good with others. The more I give, the more I receive. I experience a deeper consciousness of peace and security, for I know that I am in the embrace of a warm, loving presence, forever seeking an outlet through me. My cup runneth over. I exist in limitless possibilities. Thank you. Thank you. Just a couple of announcements before we have our closing. One is education. I mentioned Dr. Christian's class, and you can sign up for that online at seasidecenter.org, the website. We don't quite have the sign-ups at the table yet, but you can sign up online. We do have 2 classes still from our winter quarter that are starting on Monday. Reverend Lori Sheets is teaching Shining Your Light. It's a 4-week class. It begins this Monday night. And we also have Zen Tangle, which is an art class. It's a form of relaxation and spiritual practice through doodling and art. So that's something you can sign up for as well. It's a 4-week class, again, starting on Monday night. That wraps up our winter classes. Spring classes will be coming out soon. The other announcement that I have is about our bookstore. Stuff is still flowing in from the gift show. We've got all kinds of great stuff in there, lots of new books. Terry is here. It's open for you, so please support our Catch the Spirit bookstore. We'd love to see you in there. I want to thank everybody who makes Wednesday night possible. Thank you all so very, very much for being here. It means the world that you're here and that you support us, that we continue to grow. Thank you so much. Last week, Reverend Lori Mack was not here, but Reverend Bill was here. I hope you enjoyed Reverend Bill. Thank you, Bill, for always being here and supporting us, driving down the 5. We're blessed that he's so very close. Thank you so much to Ed on sound. Love you. So grateful for you. Gregory for the podcast. Thank you to everybody at home that watches and supports our Wednesday night Going Within service. Our practitioners tonight, Jan Hartman. I love, love, love having you, Jan, always. Denise is here as well. As Jen said, please go for prayer. For good, bad, whatever. Get prayer. It's good. It raises that consciousness and connects you just a little bit more with the divine. Jim, a one-man show tonight. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And Jenny is our Wednesday night coordinator, and I thank her very much. And Terry, of course, in the bookstore. So now what I would like to do is pray. It's a time that we get to just remember anybody that we have in our lives, any need that we have in our lives for ourselves. And we can just bring that person to mind right now and just hold them in that consciousness and know that they're included in this vortex of prayer. So just turning within and knowing that there is only one power and one presence, and it is God, and it is love. And only love, that there is nothing else but this beautiful, wonderful, magnificent love, good God. I'm so grateful to know that that's all that there is nothing, absolutely nothing but the divine. There is no polarity, there is no opposite, there is nothing but source. And I know that I am one with this source. I am one with all that is. I am one with this beautiful expression of love. And just as I know this is true for me, I know it's true for each one here. I know that each one is a magnificent individualized expression of the divine, unique and fabulous and perfect exactly as they are, knowing that each one is the love of God. I know and I claim for each individual here that there's a perfect unfoldment taking place in their life and the lives of those that they love. I know that each and every one is surrounded and guided and guarded always, in all ways. And I'm knowing that there is that absolute love that moves through, in, as, and through each one. I know for each and every individual that's put a prayer in the prayer request chest that that prayer is answered, that the answer is yes, and there's a divine happening right now. And I know for Seaside Center for Spiritual Living that it is a place of divine unfoldment. It is a place of growth. It is a place where God is palpable. It is a place where the love is felt. It is a place that is safe. It's a place to call home. I'm so grateful to know this truth. I'm so grateful to speak these words. I am so grateful to have this beautiful, wonderful relationship with Source that is my own, that is personal and magnificent. It's with that sense of absolute gratitude that I just release these words into the divine nature of the law, knowing that it is already done, it is already complete, and so it is. Ask you to join us in our closing song. Jim,
And Jan's
Nicolette.
gonna sing with us. Here we go. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, love will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision. Right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, love will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision. Right here and now. My decision. Right here and now.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you.
Jan,
Join us
thank
for
you so
coffee or
much
tea and cookies in
for
the family
joining us.
room.
All right.
Blessings.
I used to think that I needed somebody. All I need was my connection with God. I used to think that I needed somebody. All I need was my connection with God. All I need was my connection with God. All I need is my connection with God. I used to think that I needed somebody. All I need is my connection with God. All I need is my connection with God. All right. Thank you, thank you. Hey, no sparkle tonight.